All right, cool.
This is the Patriot.
Hey, this is Skylar.
My name's the Devil's Rejects.
I'm the big-time wrestling heavyweight champion, Flex Armstrong.
I'm the connected
Here.
Rusev Day every day?
It's Rusev Day every day.
Exactly.
And you're watching the Wrestling Connection.
And you're watching Wrestling Connection.
And watch the Wrestling Connection.
You're watching the Wrestling Connection.
I hear that women gain immortality from licking the feet of babies.
What? Say.
Be connected, get connected, and stay connected, brothers.
Hello, Allison, and welcome to the.
Be connected, get connected, stay connected.
Let's get the big, of course, with the official presentation. Thank you.
Get connected, be evil, or die.
Moving on.
Be connected, get connected, stay connected.
And welcome to episode 280 of the most award-winning must-see talk show to ever hit Bedford Airways, or any areas for that matter. North, south, east, west, backwards, frontwards, sideways, diagonals, any which way you look at it. Brought to you all around the world, the Wrestling Connection. I am your host, the consumer of wrestling knowledge, and pride of the Wrestling Connection, the legacy of Team Kaufman, Dan Kaufman, here to deliver all the news you need to know in wrestling today. And this is a kind of delayed review. As per usual, scheduling has been a bit of an issue, but I owed it to everyone, so I'm here to deliver the review, the paper review of WWE's Clash of Champions. And we'll start with what I was accidentally calling it at the beginning. Come on, you. The King of the Ring. King of the Ring actually was a tournament that was going on simultaneously with the build-up to Clash of Champions, but the actual King of the Ring match did not happen on Clash of Champions. Instead, happened on the Raw after, and that finals match was between Baron Corbin and Chad Gable. It shows how little they've pushed him until now. So honestly, my opinion, probably the best Baron Corbin match I've seen in a very, very, very long time. These two had a great match together, had great chemistry. The big guy, little guy concept was very good, and a lot of very innovative moves. And in the end, Chad gave so much, put so much on the table, and Corbin gave him so much. He made him look like $1 million. But in the end, a very, very cool end of days reversal led to Baron now being known as King Corbin, and he doesn't look too bad with it, honestly. I never thought I'd really be singing the praise of Baron Corbin, but when you put on a good match like that, you're gonna get my attention. So congrats to Baron Corbin. Now we're moving on to the actual Clash of Champions. That was that Sunday the night before, and we're starting with the cruiserweights. And I'm sorry, I'm not really gonna give this one much time or thought. It was a match. I mean, the cruiserweights constantly do what they do. They have great matches. Drew Gulak honestly has been kind of underwhelming for me. He stole the victory again. I believe Lince Dorado was the one who got pinned. I believe Alberto Carrillo actually did most of the work and then got tossed out of the ring for Drew Gulak to pick the win. I honestly didn't really pay much attention to this match, unfortunately. Now, how do you bury somebody when you think that you might be giving them a chance? Have them win a match, then get crushed over and over again, and then when you think they're going to have a main event card, put them on the kickoff. AJ Styles versus Cedric Alexander. Oh, this is a burial. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, you cannot tell me this was not burial when AJ had no help, basically had Cedric beaten and refused to pin him, and then extended the match and then still won dominantly. Cedric probably is not going to recover this for a very long time when people finally forget about this. But for now, yeah, he's as good as dusted, in my opinion. They put this on the kickoff, man. Oof. On the kickoff. All right, moving on. We are starting with the Raw Tag Team Champions. Don't forget, Clash of Champions had every belt on the line. So, despite the fact that Seth and Braun actually have a match against each other later in the evening, they still have to defend their Raw Tag Team Champions against Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode. It was an alright match. It is what you expected it to be. Braun is, for the most part, left on the outside, while Seth is the one being beaten down by both of them, so you can get the hope spots in. It's pretty typical, in all honesty. There really wasn't much to this match other than, standard fare. The match pretty much ends when Braun goes for a running tackle on Bobby, but that pushes him into Seth to cause Seth to get hurt. Dolph pulls Braun out of the ring. Bobby hits Seth with the glorious DDT for the 1, 2, 3. Miscommunication. Not surprising. All right, now we're going to another match, which, while unexpectedly short, I feel worked with the narrative they've been posting more than anything else. And that is... Oh, come on, really? Yeah, there we go. Bayley versus Charlotte. So, the match was just like a few minutes long, not even. And Charlotte was literally destroying Bayley until Bayley got one good hit in for the win. But it was a cheap hit. Basically, once the bell rang, Charlotte ran in, got the big boot, beating Bayley from pillar to post, tossing her outside, hits her into the bottom turnbuckle, starts, pushing her into it. The ref gets Charlotte off, which gives Bayley enough time to remove the bottom turnbuckle, and when Charlotte comes back, Bayley rams her head straight into it, knocks her out. 1, 2, 3. Grabs the belt, scurries away. And while this feels like it could be considered bad, in terms of the narrative, with what they've done with Bayley, it works. So hear me out. Bayley has been champion for a while now. And anytime anyone comes up against her, she manages to beat them off. Beat them off of her. So, like, they've had the Ember Moon match, which I feel sorely underwhelms. But the way they've always said it, the 4 horsewomen are always the top tier. Almost nobody can get past them. They're always at the highest. And Bayley has always been the one in the back. So the way it is right now, the rankings seem to be Becky at the top, then Sasha, then Charlotte, then Bayley. But it's a big difference between Charlotte and Bayley. Charlotte almost always has the upper hand on Bayley. Bayley's been pushed to the ground far too often. So, if you want Bayley to stay as champion, it has to be, especially as a heel, it has to be an underhanded hit. An underhanded move, a quick shot, a quick pin, and get out. And that's what they did, and I feel it works. So, kudos to that. I I honestly expected if it had gone even longer, it would have been pretty not a good match. So, next up, we have the SmackDown Tag Team Champions with the New Day, Xavier Woods and Big E, versus the Revival of Dawson and Wilder. And it's a pretty good match. The Revival always have their game plan set, where they're going to try and isolate one person and then deal with them and then go for the other person. And that's exactly what happened here. They attacked Big E a lot before dealing with Xavier. Xavier came in the match already hurt. which made it pretty obvious to the Revival that if they could just isolate Xavier and make it that he can't get any assistance, then the match is already theirs. So that's what they did. They went after Big E a lot, figuring, you know, if Xavier isn't wrestling at 100%, then take out the guy who is, which is what they did. They beat both of them down quite a bit, but in the end, they had Big E on the outside, hitting him over and over again, gets him into the Shatter Machine, gets him out of the match after that, and then Xavier is all that's left. And then Xavier tries to put up a valiant effort, but he gets hit with the Shatter Machine, and then instead of going for a pin, they go for a submission move just to torment him, and eventually Xavier does have to tap, making the Revival the new tag team champions. By the way, I figured I should let you know this. The only belts that change hands this night are the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships. That's it. Go figure. All right. It's going to spoil a few matches now because every other match with a belt, no one's changing hands, including the Women's Tag Team Championship between Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus Fire Desire, which is Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. Now, if you honestly thought that these two would actually win, I'm sorry to burst your bubble. No one thinks that, and you have failed. But honestly, the match was okay, and it was broken up for a little bit by a run-in of the 24/7 belt, where R-Truth is running away from a bunch of, as I've been heard them called, the League of Jobbers, runs into the ring. Alexa Bliss almost gets a 3 count on him, which would have made her a double champion, but no. So instead, you know, they both, you know, R-Truth and Carmella run off. The League of Jobbers chases after them, and then the match resumes. And, you know, Sonya and Mandy essentially have one good double team move shot in, which almost gets them the belt. Nikki breaks it up, and then the match is essentially as good as done. Nikki destroys both Mandy and Sonya and picks up the win with a off the top rope swinging neckbreaker. So Alexa and Nikki still seem strong, although in the following weeks, both of them have been beaten down pretty heavily by Sasha and Bayley. So, as I said, they're the champions, but they don't compare to any of the 4 horsewomen. That's how they're setting it up right now. Next up is the Intercontinental Championship between Shinsuke Nakamura and The Miz. Decent affair, decent match. You know, when Shinsuke knows what he's doing, it's good. When The Miz knows what he's doing, it's good. But don't expect more than what they already know. They also had the little wrinkle of Sami Zayn running around, running his mouth during the Shinsuke match because, you know, he's Shinsuke's hype guy, his manager. Like halfway through the match, The Miz gets in Sami's face, grabs the mic, which was already turned off, but it was a great visual to see him chuck the mic as hard as he could up the ramp. You know, it's good. Miz essentially has Shinsuke beat, but Sami interferes, therefore the count doesn't go through. And then Shinsuke gets the cheap win, and Shinsuke retains. Standard fare, as usual. All right. Next up, we have Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks. I like this match. This is a good match. You know, the ending kind of puts a damper on it, but considering how much more brutality there was by letting it go this way, I'm okay with it, really. So it's a good knockdown brawl, as usual. That's Becky's specialty. You hitting. Her just the top rope, legs drops, you know, punching in the face, tossing into the rope, Bex bloaters, you know, disarmers, all that stuff, all that good stuff. And Sasha at the beginning seeming like, you know, she can't seem to get a good bead on Becky, but eventually she does, and, you know, she has a lot of meteora. She has multiple times in the bank statement where it seems very close to Becky having a tap, but one of which she got into the Bex, changed into the Bex bloater. The other one she managed to get into a pinning combination. Eventually, Sasha gets angry, grabs 2 chairs, chucks one all the way to the other side of the ring, distracts the ref to get out of the way, takes the other one, hits Becky, still can't get the pin, gets frustrated, so then Sasha tries to hit Becky with the belt in the ring. The ref stops it. Becky gets the belt, tries to hit Sasha, ends up hitting the ref instead. By this point, we don't know this, but the match has stopped because Becky hit an official. But instead, now it's literally just a beat down, going through the crowd, using chairs, hitting each other back and forth, getting Sasha back in the ring, setting her up for a sit down on the steel chair assisted disarm her, which looked really cool. But again, the match was thrown out. So all right, next up we have Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. It was okay, but considering what's happened in the few weeks, this is probably the end of the feud, and this does not feel like it. This does not feel like it should be an end of the feud match. The only thing that happened is Kofi got a decisive win over Randy Orton. The only bit which I feel could be like an ending is the fact that Randy actually went for the punt kick, which is something that he almost, and I mean almost never does anymore because of PG sensitivities. And because of that, Kofi was able to get around it, hits him with the Trouble in Paradise for the 1, 2, 3. That's as close to an ending for the feud as I would accept, but the match itself didn't have that burning desire from either of them, I felt, to put on an incredible match. Now, the reason why I say this is probably the end of the feud would be because of the fact that, as I'm speaking right now, today, Friday, October 4th, is the premiere of SmackDown on Fox, which is going to have Kofi Kingston defend his WWE Championship against Brock Lesnar, and nobody is thinking that Kofi can do it because Brock is a bigger draw, especially on a channel like Fox. So once that happens, Randy really doesn't have much of a reason to be going after Kofi anymore, so this is probably the end of the feud. So it was a good match, but it's standard. There's a lot of these matches, very standard for Clash Champions, which includes Roman Reigns versus Eric Rowan in a no disqualification match. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. I enjoy Roman Reigns matches where he, wrestles and battles throughout the arena with no holds barred, no countouts, no disqualifications, because it reminds me of the Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman matches, and those were so much fun. Unfortunately, there was no office chair chuck to the face moment. There was a trash can moment, and it wasn't even the steel trash cans, which were so infamous during the hardcore matches. I mean, like a normal in the crowd trash can. There was the Iron Claw choke slam. There was tons of steel steps. There was kendo sticks. There's all sorts of things. There's even it's like a camera on a prop on like a crane, which was used twice to hit Eric Rowan. But the real story of the match is actually at the end, because when Roman was going for a spear on the ramp, he instead gets intercepted by a big boot from Luke Harper returning. So awesome. I love Luke Harper. I feel that he really got the short end of the stick because of the fact that they had nothing for him to do, and because of the fact he couldn't do what Vince wanted him to do. At the very beginning, he never really had a liking for Luke, which sucks. But the one thing he was very good at was being a tag team partner and friend to Eric Rowan. And they've actually made Eric Rowan seem more like a monster than he used to when he was nothing but the henchman who got beat in seconds by The Rock at WrestleMania. People have forgotten that now. He's a bruiser, and it actually works for him and his character. He actually seems very intimidating and actually threatening, which is good. And now that Luke Harper's back, was always the technical and pretty dexterous of the two. I am excited to see where they go with it. Now, for the final match, after their first match, where they had defended the Raw Tag Team Championships, now it's time to defend the Universal Championship, and that is Seth Rollins versus Braun Strowman. And I will say this right now, Braun looked very powerful in this match. You know, despite the fact that he really didn't have many chances to get Seth and hit him, Braun took so much punishment and still kept getting up. You know, what was it, like 4 or 5 stomps? That's more than most people. The 3 stomp thing always gets them down. He's done that to Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar is considered the top of the tippity top. But there was his triple dive to the outside. There was a top rope splash, which you never do, Braun. You never do that. It never works out for you. There was tons of catching, tons of slams, and he went for that triple stomp. 1 stomp, 2 stomp, 3 stomp. Braun kicks out at 2. The crowd lost it. They were like, "Oh my God, he actually kicked out of it. How can Seth put him down? Maybe Braun's gonna win." And instead, he gets Braun with a pedigree and then a stomp for the 1, 2, 3. So as strong as Braun looks, Seth is still your Universal Champion because of the pedigree, essentially. So, sorry, Braun, your time is not now. I do not know when or if that will ever come. But that wasn't the end of the show, because right after that, Seth gets attacked by The Fiend, Sister Abigail, Mandible Claw, and that's how the show ends. So, all in all, it was a good show, but it felt pretty standard and average, honestly. There was no, "Oh my God, you must see this match" in this card. There wasn't. Which stinks, but it is what it is. Now, Hell in a Cell's coming up, and I'm going to talk about that very soon. But as per usual, WWE has their mind all over the place, and it shows. So we'll get to that next time. But for now, thank you all for watching. I apologize for the lateness of this show, but it will be here forever. And as always, be connected, get connected, stay connected. Have a lovely day, folks. Da 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 do. Voila.
I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed